If you're really concerned about your kids' future and their life, and if they're having apps such as Instagram, Platform X, or Telegram, I really suggest you guys to actually uninstall that. The reason being is like those platforms actually carrying much more sinister to the kids to actually ruin their future. So this is based on a true incident, some reports that has come to my attention for the last 6 months. And so I have to verify the reality of the extent of this damage before I bring this video to you. And I really suggest that the Indian government does the same thing like an Australian government, which banned recently these apps for kids under 16 years of age. I really suggest that people, governments in other countries follow the same thing. What has happened? Elon Musk took over Twitter and he fired 70% of the workforce. So what those workforce was doing, they were not actually developers. They were actually moderators. They were checking the content to make sure that the content is okay to be for public eyes. So they don't let some crap videos or something which is horrifying to the general public to view it. And now this basically makes a platform friendly for anyone, irrespective of the age. Now what has happened today? Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Telegram, all these platforms, including Thread, all of these platforms, they have very, very poor moderation because of low workforce. And on top of it, AI doesn't seem to care about these sort of things. Now, what are the things that is being carried to some of these youngsters? I'll tell you this and you will be pretty shocked. In my phone, if I actually open Instagram and Telegram and things like that, based on what I see is what is the content that is going to be served to me. And most of the time, I'll be seeing content with respect to business and entrepreneurs and fundraising and some of these things. So this is all the content that is going to come to me. Whereas if you open any of the underage kids' iPhone or phone, anything which they have the apps such as Instagram, Twitter, or Telegram, the information that comes to their vision is actually entirely different and much more sinister. And some of those things are not just porn. It's beyond porn. Porn is at least, it's basically, the hormones basically makes them to think about it and go and watch it, and they basically gonna go in that direction. That's in nature. But apart from porn is also something bit more degrading, and it changes who you are and all that sort of stuff, which we talk about in another video before. But this is much more of a greater threat compared to porn industry. So what kids are seeing is they are seeing more and more gore videos of real rape incidents captured without any censor or blurring, and real murders in the sense like beheadings and people taking the heart out of a living person, and postmortem videos and all that sort of things. So I tell you what is the real danger of looking at these videos. So now if you look at any of the movies which has got a lot of action scenes, they got a lot of violence, people killing each other using guns and knife and all that sort of stuff. If you notice, anyone can see it. Kids can see it, old people can see it, adults can see it, anyone can see it. And we don't really find much of emotional triggering in us by looking at that. And in terms of, we don't feel it disgusting as if a human being is killed right in front of us. We know it 100% sure it is fake, and they cannot make it realistic because that is how it is. The blood is not realistic. We don't feel anything about looking at the blood. But if you go to a hospital and then if you see someone actually got a little broken rib or anything like that, broken finger or anything like that, and then they got blood bleeding out, it may not be that much of a blood. But that actually gives us a sort of like a dizzy feeling. That color, looking at that color gives us a dizzy feeling. So the movies can actually make how much of realistically what they want to do with that. But that will never create a dizzy feeling because the brain knows it. Even though it looks realistic, but the brain knows it's not real. Whereas looking at a video of a real blood, we will get that feeling. We will get our heartbeat raising, and we will actually change as a human. Now, this is what kids at age of 13 and 14 are actually seeing on a day-to-day basis. This is what they are sharing in their school with their school friends. The reports which I've got are actually from school kids. And the school kids are actually saying that this is what kids are actually sharing between them during the break periods and stuff. They're sharing all these gore videos and they're talking about it having no clear indication of any compassion or like guilt or anything like that. They look at it as if they seem to enjoy it. They sort of consume it as a sort of like an entertainment, and this is going to completely rewire their brain. Maybe the first time, if you ask any of your friends who are doctors, the very first time they see a dead body, the very first time they see blood, the very first time they see an open body, they might have vomited, they might have had a dizzy feeling, they might have had a huge palpation issues and all that sort of stuff. But as they see more and more and more, they're going to get used to it. After that, they don't find anything. Even if you cut a human open in front of them in a surgery, they're not going to have any feeling about it. But these kids going to be like that, and they're not going to have any feelings about it. What they're going to end up being doing it when they get anger, when they don't like someone, they're going to use that against that person. And this is going to be something which is going to change the next generation. And the saddest part is, this is not just one particular thing. They're not actually seeing hardcore rape or hardcore real murders or beheadings and things like that. They're also seeing how to, inject drugs and things like that, how to get drugs. And there are groups and groups and groups of people who are actually creating Instagram and Telegram groups through which they're actually sharing information on how to make money illegally. And that is using muling. So basically, they basically help transport drugs, or they basically promote drugs and stuff. And tell you this, if you would have gone through life, many of you who's watching this video, when we were in school, when we crossed school, after we crossed school, for example, like after 20 years and stuff like that, it will be too hard for us to get acquainted with some sort of very bad habit. I'm talking about very bad habit, not some casual drinking or anything like that. Something such as drugs or anything like that. It's very hard for people to get used to some of these very bad habits, because we don't have an introduction to it. We don't know where to get it, and we don't have any friends who's going to come and help us doing this, all these get used to these bad habits or anything like that. Most of these things starts when people were in school days. People start smoking when they were in school days. People start using drugs when they were in school days. Almost all of these things, they start when they were in school days. And that is one reason, if you see most of the drug peddlers, they are basically surrounding around the school areas and the location where kids are. And in places like Australia, we have newses where even kids, they work as peddlers. Their parents might be some sort of a drug dealer or some middleman or something. They actually give drugs to their own kids, and then ask it to give it to kids in their school, like a chocolate or a toffee or a cookie or something. Once kids starts liking it and stuff, they ask for more, and then they start charging it. This is how the habit of drug gets into their system. And then crimes. There are groups basically promoting what sort of different crimes that you can do it, because during those days in 90s and stuff, the crime that the kid would do is basically stealing from a parent to buy something like a sweet or something like a kite or something like that. But whereas now, the things that they want to get is not something cheap, not 50 rupees and 100 rupees. They wanted to get iPhones. They wanted to get Nike shoes, which is around 10,000 rupees and stuff. Then the iPhones are around like 1 lakh and 2 lakhs and stuff. Now, how the kid is going to steal that sort of money? How the parent is going to afford that sort of money? So what is the option that the kid would have? They will log on to this platform, they will communicate with their friends, and they will give us an option on how to make money. Okay, here we go, mule some drugs, and then you get some money out of it. Now use that to buy your iPhone, and that is basically start of it. Okay, now you have your money, and you don't have to listen to your parents. So I really suggest, guys, if you're a parent, make a treaty with your kids. You're not going to be forcing them to do it. If you try to force them out, they're going to find an alternate way to do it. Make a treaty with them. Tell them that, I want you to stay out of these platforms until you turn 20 or whatever, because this is not going to make you rich or good or anything anyway. So this is not going to do any good for you. This might actually ruin your life forever. You might end up being a criminal or a murderer or maybe a drug smuggler or anything like that, which might actually, you lose your 20 years and 30 years of your life in prison. And I want you to ask me something that I can give it to you. I can I can buy you a game or something else, but I want you to stay out of these three things for the sake of your life. And the worst part is, like, being born as a human, it is a curse that, after 22 years of our life, we cannot live for ourselves. Look at most of us. We are early morning, we are in a bus stop where we are standing next to 1,000 people, trying to get in a bus which hardly hold around like 60 people. And we are in a train station where we are crushed into carriages. And we go into offices thinking that, this would change our life. No, but we're just going to pay the bills. And that is the same thing that we're going to do for another next 50 years and 40 years. And that is a life that we are living in. But that 22 years, within the 22 years, we can live a life without having these worries. We can have a good life. We can live a life. We can live with the people around us. We can play games. We can play cricket. We can do all that sort of stuff, which we cannot do for the rest of our life. But these platforms, I find it completely irresponsible for these platforms to keep the moderation lenient for, especially for kids. Taking this content and making it accessible for these kids. Because this is going to rewire them. They're going to lose their childhood. They're going to lose their innocence. And pretty much after 22, they're going to face the real world. And they end up seeing the complete, like a complete gore from 13 years of their age until the end of their life. They're not going to see anything beautiful in their life. So, yeah. So, I just want to bring it to your attention, guys. So, think about it and talk to your kids. And it's very important that, that you take these apps away from them. Anyway, thanks again, guys. And hope you like my videos. And I would like to see if I can contribute anything towards this particular area. And if you're an influencer, and if you know any influencer, ask them to spread our awareness around this. And kids are actually losing their life. And this incident has been reported to me by a school kid who's studying, who's around 14 or 15 years old, and not just one, few of them. And they reported over a period of around 8 months and stuff like that. And they were completely in depression, and they are suicidal in thoughts. And they're saying that, I don't want to be with these kids. I don't really like these kids. I wanted to do good in life. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to be a pilot. I wanted to be an astronomer. People just have, kids just have dreams. Some kids are really good kids, but unfortunately they live in an environment which is very toxic, and it's literally like a jail. The rest of the kids are actually making the good kids' life as a jail. So at least look after your kids, spend some time with them, see what they're doing, and take these apps away. Whatever the means it is possible. Okay, we'll see you again in another video, guys, and thank you so much, and cheers.